The harder you try to resist at 9 p.m., the hungrier you become. I know that sounds wrong. I know you have been told the opposite your whole life. But I want you to stay with me for the next 9 minutes. Because what I'm about to show you changes the entire question you have been asking. Not how do I get more willpower, but what willpower actually is doing to my hunger at 9 p.m. And why has nobody told me this? I'm Al, father, engineer, technical manager, and health coach. I spent years trying harder. New intentions every Monday. Notes on the fridge, promising myself this time would be different. And every night around 9 p.m., the same thing happened. I would stand in the front of the kitchen, and the harder I tried to say no, the louder the craving got. I thought I needed more discipline. Then I read the research, and I found out that the discipline was the problem, not the lack of it, the use of it. What willpower actually is. Willpower is a function of your prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is the newest, most sophisticated part of your brain. It manages complex decisions, long-term thinking, impulse control. It runs on stable glucose, and it needs rest. This is what willpower was designed for: navigating social complexity, delaying gratification in a cooperative society, making nuanced decisions between competing values. This is what willpower was not designed for: overriding a blood sugar emergency. At 9 p.m. after a full parent day, your blood sugar has spiked and crashed multiple times. Your cortisol has been elevated for hours. Your ghrelin, the hunger hormone, is rising. Your body is not making a decision. It is sending an emergency signal. Get fast fuel. Now. Asking your prefrontal cortex to override the signal is like asking a calculator to stop a flood. It is not the wrong calculator. It is the wrong tool. Why trying harder creates more hunger? Here is the part nobody explains. When you activate willpower, you create effort. Effort is a form of stress. Stress, even mild stress, even the stress of I must resist this, activates the cortisol response. And cortisol does one thing immediately. It tells your liver release glucose, because there may be a threat. Fuel the response. More glucose in the bloodstream. More glucose means more insulin is needed. Insulin drops blood sugar back down. Blood sugar drops below the threshold your brain uses to feel safe. Your brain sends a louder signal. Emergency. Get fast fuel now. The harder you white knuckle at 9 p.m., the louder the craving becomes. Not because you are weak, because you added cortisol to an already elevated cortisol situation. The tool you were given to fight the craving is the same tool that makes the craving worse. That is not failure. That is a design problem. And then after the pantry comes the guilt. The guilt is not just emotional. Guilt is a stress signal. Guilt activates cortisol. Cortisol tells the liver release glucose. Blood sugar rises, insulin response, blood sugar drops. Tomorrow's hunger is already being set tonight. Bite tonight's guilt. Not by what you ate, by how you felt about what you ate. I need you to hear this. Every I failed again, every I have no discipline, every what is wrong with me is adding cortisol to tomorrow, which is adding hunger to tomorrow, which makes the next 9 p.m. harder, which creates more guilt. The loop does not need your permission to tighten. It just needs the guilt. And the guilt is being fed every time someone tells you to try harder. When a machine fails at the same time every day, an engineer does not say, "This machine has no discipline." They ask, "What changed upstream before the failure. What input is causing the downstream event? Why you are that machine. 9 p.m. is the failure event. The upstream condition is your cortisol timeline. Engineers do not blame the material when the process fails. They diagnose the system, and they change the inputs. Here is what I changed. Not to make your willpower stronger, to make willpower unnecessary. Input number 1. Protein anchored lunch. 30 grams of protein before 1 p.m. This is not about the protein, this is about keeping blood sugar stable for 6 to 8 hours. When blood sugar does not crash at 3 p.m., cortisol does not spike at 4 p.m. When cortisol does not spike at 4 p.m., it is lower at 9 p.m. When cortisol is lower at 9 p.m., the ghrelin signal does not arrive as a demand. It arrives as a suggestion, and suggestions you can decline. Demands you cannot. Input number 2, the transition moment. 6 slow breaths before you walk through the door. In through your nose, out slow 6 times. Measurably drops cortisol in 2 or 3 minutes. I do this in the car, before I get out, before I greet my son, before my dog Zuma runs at the door. I walk in as the version of myself that has space to choose, not the version that is already in emergency mode. Input number 3, the 10-minute evening reset. Before the craving window opens, a specific sequence, not meditation, not journaling, that tells your nervous system the emergency is over. Stand down, kitchen closed, not by willpower, by the absence of emergency signal that opens it. I reversed prediabetes at 40, lost 20 kilograms, no Ozempic, no supplements, no calorie counting. Not because I developed stronger willpower, because I stopped asking my willpower to do a job it was never built for. The 9 p.m. craving is not waiting for your willpower to get stronger. It is waiting for your chemistry to receive different inputs. Give it the inputs, the craving goes quiet, not because you resist it, because you removed the condition that created it. That is the difference between fighting biology and working with it. The night reset card is input 3, the exact 10-minute sequence designed for the cortisol and blood sugar state of a parent at the end of a full day. Not to fight the 9 p.m. craving, to remove the conditions that created it. Link is the description below, or comment willpower and I've sent it to you directly. And if this finally explained why trying harder never worked, share it with one parent still blaming themselves for the pantry. The problem was never their discipline. It was always the tool they were given.